Hey, Dustin Tibbetts with Passport to Wall Street, and today we're talking about naked versus covered. What does that mean? What are we talking about here? Well, we're referring to options, and you probably have heard this a number of times. You either have a naked position or a covered position, and so we're going to cover that here. And we're going to use the whiteboard a little bit for you because we'll start with a really common position when we talk about this, and this is the covered call. So the example would be that you own shares of something, say at $100. And as the owner of the shares, you've got, let's call it 100 shares at $100. If the stock price moves higher to say $105, you can do what's called a covered call. Now, we're not really covering the idea of the process today. What we're saying is if you sell a call at $105, because you own the shares, you are covered. Meaning if the stock price goes to $2,000, you are still the owner of the shares who can give them to that rightful buyer at $105. So that means you are covered, meaning you are, if in the event of anything going wrong, you are covered by the shares that you own. Now let's pretend that you do not own shares. You have zilch, zero, no shares, nothing, and you still sell the 105 call. What happens? If the stock price goes down, you love it because you collected a premium, you sold the call, you're happy with that. That's a bearish or neutral position. But if the stock price goes higher, say to $150 before expiration, you are what's known as naked. You do not have the shares to deliver if the price of the stock goes in the money or higher than your strike price. So in that case, you would be known as naked. You have been exposed, really. You didn't have the shares to begin with, but you sold a call. And now the person you sold that call to comes looking for their shares, and you can't deliver. That's known as being naked. What happens at that point is you have to then go get the shares to give to that person, essentially, if you're going to follow it through to expiration. So that's known as being naked. Now, on the downside, you've got something very similar. A lot of people will say, and actually our trade of the week was to sell a put. You see a stock that is falling, and you don't want to buy it, but you said if it falls down here to say $40 or something like that, you would be willing to buy at that $40 price. And so you sell a put. You are what's known as naked, because if the stock price falls to 40, you would be assigned the shares, but if it falls to 20, you're still getting the shares at 40, right? And so you're known as being naked in that case. You could also have a covered put, by the way, but that's an example of having a naked put. And so the brokerage firms look at that in terms of risk and require a set amount of margin depending on what the actual trade is, okay? So in this case, you really want to be sure that you understand when you can be naked in a position. If you sell a call, that could be seen as pretty aggressive because who knows how high the stock price could go and you've got to make good on it. Or you could be naked on the downside selling a put. And of course, there's a limit to how far a stock price can go, but it could mean that you have a sizable requirement, a capital requirement for that position. So now you know, in simple terms, when somebody says naked option, naked put, naked call, or they say covered option, covered call, covered put, things like that, you know what it means, and you can take it from there. So thank you for watching. I hope it helps. I hope it makes you a profit, and we'll talk to you soon.